Good afternoon. It's a lovely Friday, and it's the 18th of October 2024. And something just struck me, and I thought I should share. Peter Obi had reacted to the absence of the president of the country, and not just the absence of the president. I mean, when he was leaving Nigeria, he told us he was going on a leave, and it's going to be for 2 weeks. This is more than 2 weeks, as a matter of fact. And not just that, I'm sure that the reason why Chetima waited this long to travel to Sweden was because he thought that the president was going to return. And so, since the president did not return, in fact, Chetima didn't plan to even attend that particular meeting in Sweden because, again, how do you leave the country like that? President traveled, he says going to be away for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, this is 2 weeks plus, he hasn't returned. And Shatima now joined and traveled again to Sweden, and they are both away. At some point, I said, well, maybe this is one of those travels that is quite necessary. What I don't think at this point that it is necessary. Let's watch what Peter Obi has said, tweeted earlier today. He says, while it is arguable that with the president and vice president's absence from the villa, there is no vacancy in the presidency, in a situation where both the president and vice president are out of the country, as reported in the media yesterday, it's concerning for a country with such myriads of domestic problems. The president had told us he would only be gone for 14 days. The 14 days have passed now, and we are waiting to see him in the country. One would have expected him to return earlier than expected for somebody who really cares about the country, considering the volume of work that needs to be done in a troubled nation like ours. The untold hardship that has been unleashed on our people as a result of some of his administration's policies is unimaginable, and we need his urgent attention to pilot the nation out of this present situation. This guy be like say the rapture. The untold hardship that has been unleashed on our people as a result of some of his administration's policies is unimaginable, and we need his urgent attention to pilot the nation out of this present situation. Peter. Again, since the president is reportedly in Paris, France, which is just about 833 nautical miles from Stockholm, Sweden, one wonders why he did not just attend the 2 day working visit to Sweden. He could simply have done it on his way back from France with his new powerful jet, which would have taken him a little over 2 hours. This would have saved time and the very scarce national resources we need critically at this time. Instead, he delegated the vice president, who needed to travel 3,055 nautical miles, over 9 hours, and about 4 times that travel time from Paris, Abuja, Nigeria, to Stockholm, Sweden, to represent him at the event. It would take about 4 times the time, the distance it takes to travel from Paris to Stockholm to travel from Abuja to Stockholm. This does not represent the kind of physical responsibility and common sense that is expected of leaders whose people are facing severe hunger and poverty. This is the time to show true and committed leadership to the people by making decisions that prioritize the well being of the people and effective management of the nation's scarce resources in alleviating the sufferings of the people. A new Nigeria is possible. Peter Obi. Now, So many people have argued over and over again that Peter Obi would have done the same thing if he had taken over power, if he was the one that won the elections in 2023. That all three candidates, major candidates, did say that they are going to remove subsidy, and inevitably we would have still been here. All right. But even if you can argue on that lane, nobody can ever argue that Peter Obi would have managed our resources better. You can't, there's no argument regarding that. I've never had anybody try to argue that. Because even while he was governor of Anambra State, he hardly travels with aides. I mean, the other day he was telling a story about how prominent people in Anambra wanted to visit him as governor. And so, because he knows that when you visit a governor, you're entitled to, go in with something. That what he does is he he visits them instead. Whenever they tell him that you're coming to the government house, he says, no, don't bother coming. I will visit you your house. So that with that thing you're trying to come and eat in his house, he will be the one to eat it. This is somebody who is a billionaire, even before he became governor. And so when I see some of his write-ups, that it would have been better if the president, if truly what they told us was true, that he's hale and hearty, he's just gone for annual leave for 14 days, and that he is going to be back within that space of time, that it wasn't that medical, because again, so many persons are beginning to read meanings to, his whereabout. Like, is it for medical checkups? Is it for something else that he went for? What exactly did he go for? Well, how come he hasn't returned? Given that the statement stated that clearly that he was going to return before long, before it's 2 weeks. So for somebody who has told the country that, you would expect that he would return, before the 2 weeks expires, given that he's coming to solve the myriad of problems that we're facing. So when you see statements by Peter Obi like this, you know that this is what he will do. Like, he cannot in any way become somebody else when he becomes the president, because he has been a governor and he clearly did what he had to do to save resources. And even if he wasn't spending it, he wasn't somebody who was extravagant. You are 100% sure that apparently, your monies, your resources will not go to waste. So he is saying that if truly Tinubu was fine, hale and hearty, why didn't he go from France to Sweden? They're all in Europe. It's just like a 2 hours drive. If you're going by train, or if you're going by air, well, again, we can't ask our president to go by train. Let him go by air. He has private jets now, Nigeria's private jet, so let him go by train. Something within Europe that he could have attended. Why? Waste of resources. And these are the things where Nigerians will look at and say, don't tell us to tighten our belt. Don't tell us to be patriotic, so to speak. Don't tell us, things are difficult, but this is inevitable. You just have to take it that way. And then you are not doing the same thing. You're not cutting down on cost. Don't do that. Don't do that. So sometimes the pain is not even in the amount of monies that Nigerians are spending. Within the space of 1 year and few months, Nigeria, the oil sector, became even worse than it used to, with over 430, I repeat, 430%. Sometimes it's not even in 430% increase in the pump price of fuel, and it's not like they increased minimum wage or they did something spectacular that made people become fine and cool. The anger is palpable. Now, sometimes it's not even about the amount of monies that most young Nigerians or most Nigerians spend. Is the attitude of government and the way and manner that they go about these things. You don't go about buying SUVs for senators. You don't go about buying frivolous things or wasting scarce resources and not even doing anything to cushion the effect of what's going on. So sometimes it's not even about the monies that Nigerians are spending in transportation, in food, in other things. It's not even about that. But it's the attitude of those guys in government. If the president attends this program that Vice President Shetima attended in Sweden, will he die? Will he have died? Are they really telling us the truth? Why wouldn't he attend that thing so that to save us that amount that Vice President would have, would have used? Save us that amount of monies. Why? Waste of our resources, continuous waste of our resources over again and again and again. Tomorrow you come and give speech. Oh, Nigerians, these are the decisions we will have to take for tomorrow to be better. How do you get to tomorrow? Is it not when you eat today? How bad, how insensitive can government be? Show me one insensitive government in Africa today, and I'll show you one in West Africa. Nigeria. Show me one. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I really don't know what you guys think. Now, give this another 2-3 days. Well, I hope that Shetima returns back today or at most tomorrow, but don't give space for people to start thinking things, especially the military. We have seen what has happened across the West African sub-region with what's going on with military takeovers of government. I didn't tell you guys that I interviewed Thabo Mbeki when I traveled to South Africa a few weeks ago. And Thabo Mbeki, though he has this thing of he didn't like that military is taking over, but in that same thinking, he says it's perfect. It's perfect because the people who were leading those countries were puppets of France. It was absolutely about what France wants that those people were doing. And so because of that, he said, look, these guys have to take over their country. And if you watch, those countries that military have taken over, they have severed relationship with France, and they are doing relationship with Russia. And so it goes to show that if care is not taken because of what's going on around this West African sub-region, it's scary. You can't have a president and the vice president leave the country just like that. It is wrong. If one is going on leave, one should remain. At least stay the whole hog, the period where one is away for the so-called leave. I don't want to, try to preempt anything, but anything is possible, especially now that people have heightened tension regarding poverty, malnutrition, and all whatnot. So the President Tinubu should not be in any way look like there's some sort of vacuum in the presidency. Shouldn't be doing that kind of thing. So we wouldn't have a problem, later. You don't have a situation where somebody in the military will start thinking, well, it's not about time, because what does it really take? What does it really take? President's not around, vice president is not around. The president now is supposed to be the Senate president, right? So all you needed to do is just to make one or two moves, and then you hear an announcement. There's a new government in place. So please, it's bad as it gets. I hope that, some things don't happen in the next few days, or something don't happen, so something doesn't happen and somebody will start seeing ourselves in military. Yes, you could say that things are really bad in so many quarters. I've heard people say that, look, if it is possible, the military should take over, so that at least it could use some fats to make things, become fast. But I've heard people say such things, but be careful what you wish for, because even when we say yes, things are difficult, the military would, yeah, prices of things might drop under the military, yes, but there are other underlying issues with human rights that military will not adhere to. So it will be foolish of us to start asking for military to take over, even in the recent of it. So I hope that even while we talk through and make sense of what's going on in our country, the so-called reform that is really biting hard on our finances and even on ourselves, it is important that we be cautious, so the military doesn't take over. Yes, in the interim, the military can make food prices go down, can cause fuel price within the country to go down. Yes, they can do that in the interim, but in the long run, is that really what you want? It's been 25 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria, and I think that even though I know there have been mistakes made, those mistakes can be corrected, but to the extent of being cautious about what we, you know, desire and what we call for. So I appeal for caution and I appeal for time. But again, we should also be critical in whatever this government is doing to better our lives. There is nowhere in the world, quote me, nowhere in the world that a government will come on board and within 1 year, 4 months, would increase the pump price of fuel that is as important, a commodity that's as important as fuel, and increase it by over 430% without protest, without at least the minimum protest. Nowhere, including military regimes. In fact, the military regimes, it can't even happen. Libya is run by two governments, two different governments is running Libya. How much is fuel? 54 naira. Yes, fuel is 54 naira, like 54 naira. They are one of the leading producers of oil, even though we are higher than them. But Libya, 54 naira. That is the amount of oil. Other countries that produce fuel, Angola, Angola is around 430. Ethiopia doesn't produce. Theirs is around 600 and something. There's hardly any country in the African continent that produces fuel that sells fuel at 1,400. None. No country on the African continent, no matter what economic indices you are using, whether you are using that the fact that they have refineries built within them or within the country, or you are using the indices from the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank. There is no oil producing country on the African continent today that is selling fuel above 1,000 naira. None. None. But I mean, these are still early days in deregulation of the downstream sector. And so, because of that, Nigerians are asked to bear the pain of this excruciating encounter that's come with the increase in price of food, increase in price of transportation, increase in price of power, increase in price of everything. It's so unfortunate that we're facing this particular situation, and I just hope that at the end of the day, we'll be good for it. We will be good for it. Else, I'm not too sure that so many people who will be able to stay for a while, longer than what a while can actually produce. The government says they've saved 10 trillion naira from the removal of fuel subsidy. I'm wondering really, 10 trillion naira, what are you going to use it for? I hope it doesn't end into the private pockets of these politicians once again, trying to go through that circle. So when somebody like Peter Obi speaks and he is giving his thought on the fact that the president should have returned even before the 14th day that he announced, or even stating that Vice President Shetima shouldn't have left the country, that he, as the president of this country, should have, attended the meeting in Sweden, since it's a national program, an international program that requires the government of Nigeria to be around. That the president should have just from France to Sweden, to just attend that meeting. I'm sure that it wouldn't be a bad idea. It wouldn't be a bad idea if the president attended it, and then from there, return back home, or even go back to France. So when people like Peter Obi give their opinion on these things, it makes sense, because it's something that he has done before, and he's willing to do the same and over again, unlike his predecessors and unlike people who are his peers, who would stand at nothing to make sure that they plunge the resources of this country. And for somebody like that too, he is supposed to be very angry. Peter Obi is supposed to be very angry with everything, especially what has happened in 2023 elections. I mean, people like Atiku Abubakar couldn't have, he couldn't have even taken a pinch of what Peter Obi took. I mean, every single time that he loses election, he travels and stays out just to cool off his head. But look at what Peter Obi has done in the last 1 year plus. He keeps going around donating money, his own hard-earned money. What kind of politician is Peter Obi? I beg. I've never seen that kind of politician before. I don't know if there is anybody who there is an African politician, that's not limited to Nigeria, a Nigerian politician who would lose at a contentious election as that of the 2023 elections, and still have that mind to be going around and donating his personal money. What kind of politician is Peter Obi? Like, the other day he said he gave 70 million of his money, his personal money, to a school, and so many other amount of monies that he's been giving, is going around to give the donations, his goodwill, his visitation of being present in people's lives. Somebody that is supposed to be gone and disappear from oblivion, gone into oblivion and disappear completely. But he keeps going round and round and round and round and giving his own personal money. I need to study Peter Obi, really. I need to study that kind of politician, because he should be somebody who should be preparing for 2027 election, if at all he's still interested. He should be preparing for 2027 election and gather some monies, but he's going out giving out these monies. I'm shocked though. The other day when Kogi State, he was stopped in traffic. He was wondering what was going on, and they said somebody used his truck to block the road because of an issue. He came down from his own vehicle, went straight to the guy. As soon as the guy met him, the guy started laughing and started taking pictures with him. In other words, Peter Obi didn't have to beg anymore. And this guy is a core northerner now. This is not somebody who is in the southeast or who is in the south, or of course we know southeast, south, and southwest love him. But this is a core northerner. He said that who is he to even for Peter Obi to beg. That is the kind of influence, leadership influence that Peter Obi has that we need. Somebody whose presence can change things. Somebody whose words can change things. Someone whose word you can hold. So that's the reason why most of the time we know and we see that those who make arguments about the fact that, oh, three of the presidential candidates said we're going to remove subsidy. Yes, they would have removed subsidy, but it's not going to be the same. It couldn't have been the same. Within a year plus, you are giving us a 430% increase of fuel pump price. I mean, it would have been different with this guy called Peter Obi, because he's somebody who has empathy. But this government, led by Tinubu, no empathy, nothing, absolutely nothing. Before he even come out to give a speech, about the protests that happened, he was practically begged. Do you even blame him? Did he even come out to do the so-called debates that were organized by different media organizations across the country? Nobody came. The two other presidential candidates were ready to come, but he decided not to come because he knows that he cannot stand a discussion with a journalist in Nigeria, even if it is NTA's presenter that interviews him. It would have been better. More than a year, he hasn't done any media pally. Normally, every president that has come up, what you would do is organize media pallies every 3 months, every 6 months, or even every year. Do a media pally and let journalists, even if it is an arranged, conversation, let them give you the question beforehand so that you answer those questions very well. But no, you have to beg the president to speak to you. You have to beg the president to make a speech. You have to beg a president to do the needful. No, this is not the kind of government Nigerians deserve. Even though some people will argue, Nigerians deserve the leadership that they have. That Nigerians deserve the leadership that they have, because what country would you do this kind of thing to? Not even Ghana, not even Togo, not even South Africa. You would do this kind of thing. In South Africa, in fact, virtually every other day, you see a protest. Is that they're protesting about a teacher that has beaten a kid, or they're protesting about a wife, a man that has beaten the wife. There's virtually protest almost every other day in South Africa, because they're a country that have gone through a lot. They're a country that have gone through apartheid, and they know what oppression is. So sometimes when you see them talking about Israel, speaking against Israel, they know that they've gone through that process, and it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. What country goes through this stress? What country, just name it, what country in the world would you increase fuel price for over 400% and the country would be quiet? And you tell me the country doesn't deserve it? Maybe the country deserves, maybe we actually deserve the leadership that we have right now. After all, if we don't deserve it, trust me, we would be on the street, or we'll probably do something else. It's crazy. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Charles Pius, my name. Cheers.